welcome you all here. Sometimes we have a few, sometimes we have a lot, but we always videotape this little session so that you can watch it later and so your friends can watch it later. But the thing about being here in person is you get to ask the questions. And we would like to make it so that most of the time is devoted to your questions, because we've never had one of these things where we don't have an abundance of good questions. Okay? Now the people that are sitting up here, this is Melissa Stark over here. She's the from the health, let's see, Health Occupations Admissions Office, right? It used to be the advising office, now it's the admissions office, because the advisors in healthcare actually sit on the admissions committee. So you really want to get to know one of them, and I always preach that you should start going and meeting with them once every term when you're in 112, and then go 112, 231, 232, 233, and then usually you're another term or two after that getting everything completed. So, but you should have met with your advisor 5 or 6 times by the time you get done here. Please do not go to the regular academic advisors. They will give you the best information they can, but it's not right usually. You want to go to the healthcare advisors because they know the ins and outs of these healthcare schools. The other thing that's important is don't go to meet with your advisors looking like a slob. You're applying for a professional position, act like it, okay? These are 3 students up here that have been very successful here, and they are now in nursing school. Well, Erica hasn't had her first day yet, but she just got admitted the other day. Erica down on the end, Erica Gertis, she was in my classes a year or so ago, and just sent me an email the other day, said she got in PCC. Did you get in? Oh, just you two?
I'm on their wait list.
You're on the wait list.
Yeah.
Are you going to go there if you get in?
I don't know yet.
I'm trying.
I really want to go to, I've been at PCC this whole time, so.
Yeah.
I have Lisa, so.
Yeah. Lisa Polson in the middle there is starting her 2nd year, I guess, at PCC, or finishing her 1st. So she's been at it, she's halfway through. And then on this end is Stephanie McKelvey. She's in OHSU. She's been there for 3 years, and she's going to graduate with her BSN in a few weeks. So she's right at the end of nursing school. So the 3 of them kind of come at this from a different perspective. Let me just take a few minutes and have you, I'm going to have each one of you just say a couple of words about how you got in and how did you use the advising system, and what do you think was important in how you did get into nursing school.
All right. So I'm Stephanie, and I came to PCC. I originally had to redo a bunch of classes because I've been out of school for so long. So between Rock Creek and Cascade Campus, I did some of those. And then I did all of my anatomy and physiology out here with Dr. Sessions. And I think 231 was the first term I started meeting with Melissa and the team. And I met every term, even if everything was still in line and like tracking perfectly, I still met with them because they're a good resource for what looks good on your application, how your application should look, what grades you need to pull, how to do your best in those classes, get resources to help you in those classes. So I will say do not go to the irregular admissions. I never did throughout college, but you want to, if you're going into healthcare, why would you go to like the regular doctor if you want to see a specialist? So go to the specialist in that field. So I got in, I applied 3.5 years ago, and I got into 3 schools, and then I just had to make a choice to which one I wanted to go to. But I did have a 4.0 when I applied, which was incredibly difficult. Probably at the time I thought the most difficult thing I had ever done, but at this point it might have fallen a few notches.
Okay, I'm Lisa. Yeah, just finishing my first year at PCC, and I started meeting with Melissa probably after 231. Maybe it was before, but it is so important to go back and meet with them because things change. If it takes you a while to get through the prereqs, admission requirements change, points change as far as PCC system, so you want to keep up on that. When you want to get used to calendaring, using a schedule and sticking by that, being organized and really working with people, groups, you gotta have that skill set to be a nurse, to be in nursing school. What else? Yeah.
Well, you might mention that you have a few kids to look after, and how did you give both of you, how did you keep things organized?
So I have 4 kids, it's doable. You definitely have to have a support system, have your babysitters, have your family, even have the school. All the teachers know what is going on in your life, and just have backups, but yeah.
Definitely backups.
Backups.
Backups for your backups. I have 3 kids. The youngest is now 10. I started this when she was 5. Bribery does work. Yeah, my life is on a very large calendar on our bridge, color coordinated per child, and we live week to week, and they get to cross off each day as it goes so they can see the progress. They're more excited now than they were 3 years ago, for sure, but yeah, we just live very scheduled lives. Like if you want to do swim lessons, you think about how it lines up with your term. They might have to take it later. Or if you have a spouse, hopefully they're very supportive of this journey you're about to go on. And family is important. I only have one family member local that can help, and they actually have a terminal illness, so that became a struggle. And so yeah, even your larger dynamic family is going to have an impact on your schooling. So when I first started nursing school, within the month before, I had a sister-in-law be diagnosed with cancer, a child do some pretty crazy stuff right before her senior year, and question whether I should drop out and be with her, and a sister be diagnosed with a terminal illness. So then you're thinking, should I be doing this right now, or should I be there for them? So, I mean, you have to think long-term too. Is it going to benefit your whole family later? Or is your most pressing need what's right in front of you? So,
Yeah, things are definitely gonna happen, so prioritizing that, yeah.
Erica?
Okay, I'm Erica. I don't have kids. I'm not married. I don't know how they do that. I took all my prereqs with Lisa, and we took sessions. And like, I just praise anyone who has kids and has a family. And I'm by myself, and I struggle so hard. It took me 2 years to get in. Just like them, I started meeting with Melissa in 231 when sessions kind of pressed the issue, and I had already met with a counselor, and I took probably like 10 wrong classes, wasted money. Another thing is, if you don't have a lot of time, she's so great about emailing. I emailed her like 20 times, and she knew exactly my schedule, what I needed to take. And it's just like emailing a friend, like she's there for you. We're all there for you. I think probably taking sessions classes, just him pressing like the whole family unit. Like I think that's the first time I ever was good at being in groups and really using my classmates. We used each other, and I think that's going to be a big thing when I get into nursing school.
Huge.
So prepared us. Yeah.
It's everything.
And another thing is, if you just need to take one class a term, that's okay too. I've been going at this for 8 years. My family's like, oh, are you going to be a doctor? And I'm like, not quite. But there's no shame in that. Take one class a term, work 2 jobs, have a broke down car. I still drive the same car as I drove in high school. Everything's going to work out. Don't stress. When it's your time, it's your time. So.
And I don't recommend working full-time when you're in nursing school. It is rough. So just think about how you're gonna manage that too.
Do you work?
Yeah.
I work part-time.
I work 1 day a week.
One last question I'll ask, and then I'll open it up to the floor. There's points available to get in, to go on your admission for nursing school for doing face-to-face patient care, either as a volunteer in a hospital or as a CNA or some other position in the hospital. As long as you're looking and interacting with patients. I don't know all the rules, she can tell us that. But anyway, how did you guys make those things happen, and how did you do it?
I was super discouraged because I didn't get in last year, and I had a 3.92 or 3, and I was like, okay, I'm for sure gonna get in. The CNA experience, they don't really press that too much, and I had some dental assisting experience, and I was like, okay, well, that will transfer over. It's not, like, really read the guidelines, like, exactly what you need, because my life got set back a whole year because of it, so, really, it was a blessing in disguise, because it is just a requirement, but, you know, you're gonna know how to touch patients and walk into their rooms, make them feel more comfortable. I'm happy I didn't get in last year, to be honest, because I learned so much knowledge and gained so much experience working in the CNA for a whole year.
Yeah, I've been a CNA for 3 years. As soon as I found out that that was kind of a requirement, I went in and got that done, and it helps immensely. It helps with not only getting in, but when you get into your hospital, your clinical setting, you are so comfortable walking in, you know how to greet them, you know where things are, you know what things, you know, you just know what the setup is, and you get familiar with terminology, you can work with the nurses, they can show you things, it's immensely helpful. And to know if you're going into the right field.
Okay.
So I wasn't a CNA at first. I've been a CNA now for 4 years. But for the first, I think towards the end of doing my A&P, I volunteered at a hospital, and usually they require a 1-year commitment, and it's usually 1 day a week for a few hours each week. So it wasn't a huge thing. I got to interact with patients actually on the cardiac unit at St. Vincent and work with the nursing staff there. And then I went to PCC CNA school, the CNA 2. I did CNA 1 somewhere else, and then came right here, got CNA 2, and then got to talk to Melissa actually about a website where a lot of healthcare organizations dump their needs. So you wouldn't just go to like Legacy, or you wouldn't just go to OHSU to apply, you would go to this website, and this is where everybody says this is what is out there, and it's called Indeed.com, and now there's actually commercials for it. I was kind of like, I thought I did that, and I got a job within 9 days. I'm not saying that Melissa got me that job, I'm saying this was a good place where you can just dump your information and you can apply to multiple jobs at once. So that was probably such a time saver right there. So now I've been a CNA for 3 years, and now I'm also a student nurse, almost with a license. So it gets kind of crazy at work now because my mind has to shift out of which scope of practice I'm working under. But I will definitely say the first year at OHSU, they do a lot of skills training on CNA skills because 2/3 of the cohort had never even seen a patient. And so, because it's not a requirement, but it does look good on your application. And I had a year of experience, so I got to put that on my application, and I do think it helped. However, when I got in there, 2/3 of our cohort had never experienced patient care at all. And I became the teacher's helper on skills day because they had to learn to do a bed change with a patient in the bed. And the videos you watch, the training videos, it's like the perfect patient that has all the yoga skills down and no mess going on, no lines. it just looks perfect, and you're like thinking that is not even accurate. So when I would go into Skills Lab, I would actually be a patient and be like that. They're like, well, in the video, I'm like, forget the video. Like the video, that person had better yoga skills than probably most yoga instructors. Like no one can lift their hips with a broken leg. I mean, it's just so. It made me so comfortable with patients and like going into the room and just having that interpersonal communication already happening. You didn't have to worry about like, I don't know how to do this skill, because you already knew how to do that skill. So the whole first year you kind of focus on the basic skills. So if you already have them down, then you're that much further ahead.
One of the stories I always tell is about Kristen Nasta, who is in class with Stephanie there. She's pregnant right now, doing a couple of weeks, I think, and so she's not here. But Kristen worked out at the research facility out here on 185th, OHSU Primate Research Center, and I think they have like 250 chimpanzees out there, and they do all kinds of incredible research with them. And she had worked there for a number of years. And she would help in surgery, and she would help in pathology, and she would look through the microscope, and I thought, man, that has got to be the greatest set of job experiences for anybody going to nursing school. And she applied, and she got 0 points for all of that, and the answer they gave her was, well, they're chimpanzees, they're not people, and they're different. And so she got rejected the first year, but then got a CNA. And the second half of the story that I always tell is that she then got a job down at OHSU, of all places in my mind, working on the children's oncology ward with cancer kids.
She's on bone marrow transplant.
Bone marrow now.
Adult.
Wasn't she always? Okay.
No, she didn't work with kids.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I've been lying to my students for the last 3 years, I guess. But anyway, really made a good story. Yeah. But the thing, the second half of the story, which also is good, is because she's had a position down there. She said she started a year before she started nursing school, and then when nursing school started, she was going to quit and devote all her time to nursing school. And the other people said, no, don't quit. If you only work 1 shift a month, they keep you on the rolls as an employee of OHSU Hospital. And every summer, when they hire from within before they hire from without. So she's kind of guaranteed a job, and has she already got one?
So, yeah, and Legacy does kind of the same thing. So because I couldn't work crazy hours while in school, they let me drop down, so I at times can only do 2 shifts a month, and that's the minimum. And then during breaks and stuff, I can pick up as many shifts as I want, and then when school starts back up, I can drop them. And she does actually have a guaranteed spot already on her unit. No contract has been signed yet. They're in the middle of contract negotiations with the ONA, and that's kind of sticky right now, so they can't offer a contract for her, but she will have a job on bone marrow transplant starting in October.
And that of course is one of the problems that a lot of the students are looking at. They graduate from nursing school and they can't get a job because they have no experience. So if you get your foot in the door with that, not only do you make some money instead of having to devote all those hours to volunteer. Any more comments about the face-to-face patient care?
Well, actually you guys got the newest advising guide. It's actually not even on the website yet. Our faculty just made the adjustment for points for 2018. So if you look at page 3 of your yellow advising guide, you'll actually notice that points have changed a little bit. They took the points away from having your microbiology complete, and they gave 1 point to students who have any type of volunteer experience. Mostly because the faculty really believe that volunteerism and community service is really important in a career where you're going to be giving your time and effort to people, so you can earn 1 point for volunteer experience in any setting, not even with direct patient contact. It can be delivering Meals on Wheels or anything. And then they added an extra point to your residency points. So if you took all of your prerequisites here at PCC, if you have all 45 of those prereqs, you'll get 4 points instead of 3. So that's new this year. But last year, they drastically increased the amount of points that you can get for healthcare experience, mostly because our faculty were really seeing a big dropout rate for folks who don't have experience in direct patient care. They were noticing that the students with CNAs were more successful and that they were able to handle kind of the rigor of the program because, as Lisa can attest to, it moves very quickly. And they're asking you to do a lot within the first 2 terms of the program, and if you already have the skill set that you get as a CNA, you will find yourself more successful. So now the CNA, LPN, EMT paramedic, as well as I think they're adding, which they haven't approved yet, but I'm about 99% positive they're adding respiratory therapists as well, and one more I can't think of right now, but it's another advanced certification for 10 points. So 10 points is the most points we've ever given for healthcare experience, but our faculty really feel like that is the #1 thing to ensure that our students, #1, don't drop out because it's not the right fit, which inevitably we do have students drop out every year saying, it's not exactly what I thought it was gonna be. And so that CNA can kind of help weed out those folks early on. And then also just to ensure that comfort level. I mean, you guys are gonna be handling a lot of stress your first couple quarters in that program and not having the stress of understanding electronic patient records and, changing beds and working in a system that's very, it's very much set up like a hierarchy, which not all jobs are set up like. Understanding that they don't close for snow days. They don't close for holidays. These are all things that some people are not used to, and working in that environment before you start a professional role there is really helpful. So although it is not a requirement, it is very strongly recommended for all the reasons that these ladies gave you and more. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Questions?
So on the application, the community service point that's new, is that just any volunteer service that you have?
That you can document 20 hours or more.
Okay.
And there'll be a community service form online in August, just like the healthcare experience form that you guys fill out for applications.
Okay.
There'll be a community service one too.
I have a question for you. I don't know if nursing CAS is open, when it opens exactly, but that's a big thing to stress because I got down to the wire and it's so hard because you have to scan in things and like make your profile and it's pretty confusing. You have to really study it and like figure out exactly what you need, and getting down to the wire is really stressful. So I don't know if it's open now, but I would start doing that for
So at the very end of August, so PCC has become a partner for applications, for nursing applications with a company called Liaison International, and specifically something called Nursing CAS, which is a computerized application system that we use. It's the same online system that OHSU uses. It's also the same online application system that Linfield uses. And we're also trying to push some of the other OCNI partners to use it so that you can fill out one application and then apply to multiple schools. It is very confusing. This was a very confusing year for our applicants.